PlayStation is apparently finally starting to allow people to change their PlayStation Network IDs, and they've been sending out invitations to a number of different people, mostly in the UK for now. However, even though the function is now in beta, that doesn't necessarily mean that the function will work properly immediately. Here's some of the possible bugs in the system that you can expect if you get to participate in the beta. To start off with, a lot of older games from consoles like the PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, and PlayStation Vita might not welcome the fact that you've suddenly changed your username. You might be unable to access these games or other things like DLC or microtransactions that you've already purchased. You might also lose whole segments of progress in the game, not just in terms of beating the game, but also in terms of being able to. So just be careful over whether you're in the middle of a game that you haven't beaten yet. While there's always the chance that it might not happen to you, it never hurts to be careful. No one likes to lose any sort of progress in games, especially if it's a really long game or one that you've put a lot of hours into. But when you decide to opt in on a beta, that's how things go sometimes. And what would make it even worse is the possibility of not even being able to access a favorite game of yours, especially if it's something like Bloodborne, which was one of the PS4's first AAA games releasing in 2015 after the console came out in late 2013. There's also a number of other bugs that will be coming as a result of the ID change beta. To start with, it will likely take you several hours to see your username change to begin with, and your old ID might still be used for your character in some places like, say, Destiny or other online games where your username is seen. The new names in the PSN ID change has a number of restrictions and other rules on it as well, so be sure to read all of them on the official PlayStation Lifestyle blog if you haven't read it already. To start off with, your first name change is free for every user. But if you want to change it to something different rather than change it back to your old username, you'll have to pay money for it. If you're in Europe, you'll be paying €9.99 in euros. And if you live in the UK, you'll be paying £7.99 in pounds or their regional equivalents. But if you're a PlayStation Plus member, you'll get half off on it. And speaking of returning to your old username, terms and services are actually going to be enforced this time around. If your username violates the current terms and service conditions and you change it as part of the beta, you won't be able to change it back. You do get one free opportunity to revert to your old name otherwise. If you have sub-accounts connected to your profile for your kids or roommate or anyone else, they won't be able to change their names. Even changing your name back can tie into the glitches that might end up plaguing people over the course of the beta. While you can change your name back if you're having issues, this still doesn't mean that you'll not experience issues once your name is changed back. For instance, you might not recover all of the progress and DLC you lost, and you might still experience the same glitches regardless. So you should probably think really hard over whether or not you want to participate in the beta. The PlayStation Network ID change beta will be running well into November before the actual function comes out in early 2019. Hopefully by then, even if you don't participate in the beta, Sony will have ironed out all of the kinks that make changing your name a more hazardous option than keeping it. But if you think you're brave enough and don't mind losing some of your games, if you get invited to the beta or eventually decide to change it when the full rollout comes next year, you can decide to change your username and deal with the consequences.